Nia versus Syndra does end up being a bit of an interesting matchup because Nugu at the beginning of the game has quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of wave clear to be able to kind of punish Jane as Tamrio and Nugu find an angle on the interior to put some damage into Syndra. Not going to end up mattering all that much. Fukwon and Yashino could also go in for a little bit of a late invade. Fukwon does have to path up in order to get around that ward that is currently sitting inside of that river brush. But it doesn't look like they're going to. Instead, they'll just go back to a more delayed 5-point type setup. And Team Flash will be fine with this. Box Esports will be fine with this. Everybody's fine with this.
Yeah, just don't flip it. I mean, for the side of Box Esports, it's not really much to play for, but they can't even get seventh place to have a better seeding for the relegation zone. But I mean, they still want to have like a good showing and just instill fear in the minds of the other VCSB compositions that will play up against them. And I mean, getting a 2-0 against Team Flash, who have been in the resurgence lately, would definitely be a statement performance for them. So they don't really go for any flips. Team Flash not either, because they're like more on the scaling approach. We addressed it earlier with them not really having the early game agency. And I mean, Zeri Lulu is kind of a scary bot in that regard. Like, they are scaling brilliantly, and they also still have these level 1, level 2, level 3 power spikes with the Zeri, letting this one guaranteed non-skill shot auto attack that just is a huge unload of damage just in general. And even Zayara Khan, who are strong in the early game, can't really do much against that.
No, they cannot. If you go for an E and you can find a solid angle, actually all in at level 2 with the Zeri Lulu. I remember seeing that against, it was a really common tech against Lucian Nami, because their level 2 isn't particularly menacing because you don't have all your abilities on Lucian yet. So if you don't go for dash and you go for Q with W instead of anything else, you end up getting punished really hard. And here, if Slows and Zodiac decide to not go for the attack speed ramp, and then you end up at level 2 a little bit late and you don't have your feather pull, you end up getting bullied, which is exactly what happened there at the beginning. No-go, gonna get aggressed on by Fuke1, gonna have to flash, deliver some damage. Tamrio is here for a bit of a hover on this Wukong, just to make sure that Nugu is not going to be in a bad situation. But unfortunately, it is going to be Fukwon buying some space here for Jane in the mid lane. Ooh,
Yeah,
Tamrio wants
maybe what he really needed. Tommy wants it. I mean, he has a huge HP advantage, and Fukwon shouldn't be able to win the duel here. I mean, he's taking the weapon as well. Yeah, Diego against Wukong. Not looking too good, and Tommy, he might just wait and straight up kill Fukwon here.
You see how good his timing is. That's a steal. Now Fukwon's in a danger. Actually, Tamrio just kind of doesn't care. He's like, all right, I got your red buff. I don't really care at this point. Honestly, auto attack trading should be fine. Although Conqueror is already ready for Fukwon, who is now Tamrio stuck in a really, really bad position between a rock and a hard place at the moment. Gonna have to find a way to get out of dodge or find a kill of some kind. Flash over the Krug wall is gonna get that. Putin is gonna be able to dodge to some extent. W is gonna be able to buy him a bit of space. Zodiac's gonna be able to help him out. Now Putin's gonna have to flash away. Sora is gonna be able to deliver some additional damage as Putin wants to find something, but eventually saving Private Tamrio is going to work out. With only the one summoner going down, it was the heal. Actually, that's not true. Tamrio also flashed. So the flash and the heal going down in order to get that red buff steal underway. But it is a winning situation here for Tamrio. I think he's perfectly fine putting Fukwon in that big of a hole to start with.
Absolutely. I mean, Putin also had to flash out, right? I mean, it's actually such a huge W for them. I thought he was an absolute clown to just go for this red buff invade and just not immediately flashing over to the Drake pit, but he was buying time, then playing it offensively together with his bot lane, then going there for the weapon one and helping him actually out. So Putin has to flash away out of that play. So it's 2 summoner spells burned for 1 on the other side and still getting this red buff steal, which is very, very huge for him. So Tomio coming out on top of this situation, and now Team Flash bot lane, not in the most favorable position right now, playing up against this slow push, being pulled by the side of Slows and Zodiac. Can of course still retaliate at the turret itself here, but not really the ideal start for Team Flash that they really hoped for. At least for them, not like in the first game where Jane was dying for first blood very early on. This time, his next jungler, Fukwon, actually covering him was definitely something that he can live with quite nicely. And Yoshino, as we expected, winning lane again. Gragas also very good against these tanks, especially in the early game. And yeah, maybe a dive potential with Fukwon together at this huge minion wave, but they aren't going for it right now.
No, they're not. Instead, Fukwon's just trying to get some camp back with the Krug steal coming out here up against Tamrio. Sunmer just continues to stand in the top lane on his lonesome. Tamrio also has yet to back, but is going to be going for a dragon take before the first back ends up coming through. It looks like also Fukwon. I mean, at this point, you should know that dragon's probably getting taken because there's 2 full reset topside camps that are available that Tamrio did not back for in any capacity. Knows his bottom side is cleared, so he's like, yeah, unless he's literally behind you in the opposing jungle on your side, taking camps away, it should not be that big of an issue here. Because that's quite a bit.
Yeah, expected was to grab around. yeah, trading this Drake for this whole top side jungle, something that maybe both jungles can actually live with quite fairly. I mean, we saw in the first game, right? First Drake going over to Box Esports. In the long run, was definitely favoring them as they were getting the soul, and the soul arguably being what swung the game around for them in these later team fights, where without the soul, it wasn't really looking too hot for them either. So now for Team Flash, a little bit of gold for the Drake, something that they can maybe live off. And they are the scaling competition, but I mean, as long as it's just a Drake or two, it's probably something within their remains that they are just kind of accepting to really lose just to get into this late game safely.
Okay.
Tomio's around as well.
Looks like they feel quite a bit better. Jane actually avoiding the battle dance coming through from the side of Zodiac, as that was a little bit risque. Box Esports hovering their mid laner quite nicely as Nugu in this one has had a bit of a harder time. Again, this is a solid pick. Like the range advantage that Jane has over top of Nugu, as well as having some wave clear competition at the beginning of this game, does make quite a world of difference. They do save most of the wave. I got to give them a ton of props as Tamrio and Zodiac, they did grab up 1 minion as recompense for everything that kind of came through right there. But they're perfectly all right with that, as it's just a wave advantage for Jane. And now they could even move towards either side of the map with everything else coming through. The tier and the Merc Treads kind of being done for Nugu means that the scaling's online, the mana regen's online. You can now start moving around the map with this ultimate when you have the pushing pressure against Jane.
Absolutely. And now Zodiac, not really being in the lane, just looking for maybe just to join the lane in the Weapon 1 play, but just not going for it. But they are accompanied by Tomio and go for potential dive, but also the team is covered, right? Focus around, but so is the League of the Rio as well.
Okay.
That's awkward.
Easy enough. Yeah, that's a lot of damage actually dropped into all of Box Esports, as Puddin was able to dash over the wall, drop a W, and because of that laser, there is nowhere for Box Esports to go that makes them feel comfortable, so the attempted bot side dive ends up just getting absolutely nothing. Now Talia's got to head back to mid lane and fight up against Jane.
Puddin. Scumbag Puddin just using the enemy wall to empower his laser. That's just rude, but it works so brilliantly just to disrupt the dive play coming out.
I didn't say you could do that, Pudding. I didn't intend for that to happen, okay?
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking about the
ask for Luca's permission. Yeah.
Maybe he did. Honestly, we
ask for
didn't see
consent
because it gets hidden by our observers, but maybe he did. Maybe he all chatted
it's
and said,
better.
hey, can I use this?
Yeah, maybe he agreed. Probably not, though.
I like to think that Puddin's a good guy and asks for permission first before anything else.
He asked for permission, but he then mutes Nugu, so he just assumes he said yes.
That's fair. I mean, honestly, that's ignorance more than it is, malice. So I think I'll take that. More than anything else, if it was Puddin that just said, I can't respond. Nugu can't respond to me, so I don't care what he said. It does not matter to me.
Exactly, and just apologize afterwards. Don't ask for permission before. This also maybe the approach you could go for. Either way, speaking of Puddin, he's destroying Souls in the bot lane, right? I mean, it's almost 20 CS up with basically even jungle and mid lane attention from both sides. I would actually argue maybe Tommy or Nugu did a bit more than Fukwan did. So Puddin and So are definitely making something this game, and this Dark Sphere quite not stopping the recall. I'm not sure if he intended to stop him there. I think it's fine to do either one, but I think he probably intended to do it and just didn't quite get around with it, which is kind of awkward.
Just a little bit. This game has been a lot worse for Box Esports to start things off. Obviously, there's no kills that have gone over, but they're down just kind of 600 gold ambiently. A decent amount of that is top lane, a small amount of that, a decent amount of it is in bottom lane as well. Junglers are pretty much even. I mean, you're back and forth quite a bit between the two teams. It's, again, 600 gold to 600 gold. It's not a massive advantage at the beginning, but again, given the fact that literally nothing has happened and that's a 600 gold lead is a little bit more pressing, a little bit more telling here from the side of Box Esports, as Tom Rio hasn't been able to get super active yet either.
Hate to say it, but it's a normal Box Esports game. Just slowly but surely losing the lanes, and that kind of makes the, in my opinion, bad draft from Flash kind of okay, because I mean, as long as the enemy isn't really forcing you to anything and you just pick the more scaling composition that's weaker early game and still win the early game by a slight margin, you're more than fine. Just currently the sacrifice has been one Drake, and that's absolutely okay for them, as right now also Fukwan's just going for this Rift Herald. I mean, if you trade one Drake for a Herald, especially the first Herald, it's more than fine for the Herald side of things. So Team Flash living happily, at least in this game so far.
Now Slows might be able to get more plates, which could be of a massive assistance. And in fact,
Odin?
Tomio is going to go in. Zodiac is going to try to find an ultimate and into everything else. Battle Dance is going to get dropped as Puddin, again, under everything else. Good play from Slows once again. He's going to grab first blood. I think that's absolutely worth it as more wave is denied to the ADC. Jane also going to have to flash to get away from Nugu, as the TP from Jane was there to make sure to cover for the ADC. But again, you had nothing. Slows made the aggressive play happen with the flash, the ultimate, and the feather pull. Again, Slows showing some really, really good weaponizing proficiency on these Xayah ultimates and these Xayah feathers that other ADCs just don't always use to its fullest extent. And because of that, Slows finds a first kill, actually gets a full completed mythic before Puddin does, despite being down like 10 CS in this laning phase.
Here we see it again. Flash quickness coming out and Puddin just now being there with the reaction, flashing and lightning crashing, and then just absolutely not doing any damage. And there's like the Feather Storm coming out and Slows being there with the reaction play. But also, I like what Jane did here. I mean, just TPing just to get this consolation prize kill, getting a shutdown even. And was 4 summons with both sides. It's actually kind of fine for flashing the bigger team, as soon as getting stacks, and this Drake will be flipped it again.
Okay, Nugu pressed the ultimate to try to get away. It is actually a secure from Tamriel. Once again, the smite steals to make sure to take these, as Fook1 has no opportunity to be able to grab it up. A good combination play. Again, Nugu and Tamriel, combination of being able to wall two people off. They can't quite step up into the pocket and take the fight afterwards the way that they wanted to, so it ends up just being a smite flick and a big win kind of coming out here for the side of Box Esports. Slowly, they haven't brought back the lead entirely. It's actually grown pretty heavily. It's about 1,500 at this point. But the 2 dragons, the first blood, you're feeling good about some of those things that you've collected here for Box.
Absolutely. And now it's out of Box, but it's these 2 dragons, right? And it could have gone down so much more, right? Nugu going for this Weaver's Wall to immediate flash out because he was thinking that's kind of an in-play, as Tomio was winning the 50-50, but all like flash for the scaling competition. They are 1,000 gold ahead. It's okay to give away these first 2 drakes. Maybe even the 3rd drake would be within the realms, but you definitely do not want to play against Chemsol yet again. They lost the first game to that one, and they are definitely getting reminded of this one potentially. But so far, Team Flash with the game plan, it's looking okay for them. I mean, Fook1, if he would have been a bit more clutch with that Drake secure, would have been better. But I mean, it's just 50-50. You can lose those ones easily. And now, Jane can take this wave. Yeah. Sidestep on the side of Bischoff. It's okay.
I really like everything because, again, Nugu steps back in, has the blue buff, is going to be able to stick around here for a minute. Has TP probably come back to lane, and I want to see mana or AP start to get built because Talia's damage has been absolutely abysmal in this game. There we go. That's the damage going to start coming out. Ludens, it looks like it's going to actually be the build path here for Nugu, which makes sense, being the only AP kind of member on the entire team. Makes some pretty logical sense to have that one come through here for Nugu, as they're finally going to start putting some damage. There's some actual AP backing the rocks, as this kind of star player for Box Esports started to come online a little bit more when the Ludens is done. The ultimates are going to be a lot more lethal. These cutoffs are going to be a lot better. The team fights are going to be looking a lot better. So Box Esports, I think they're going to get a lot more comfortable a lot faster in this game the second that Nogo is going to be kind of ready and raring to fight comparative to normal.
I mean, they also put a lot of resources to just get Slows ahead, and he was actually having this mythic power spike before Puddin really had it, and this power spike difference is just over right now. I mean, it's still the shield Bozeri being there, so in that regard, Team Flash also kind of stabilizing. And yeah, you just Talia item builds, right? I mean, we have seen some World of Ages Talias, I think, in the LCK, and it was absolutely useless, as Talia's already not that strong in the early game, and needing 10 more minutes to really just probably ramp up definitely would have spelled disaster. And we addressed it also in Warfight. It's a single AP, so Ludens over Liandris makes a lot of sense. I mean, just needs an extra flat penetration burst to just instantly knock down someone, knock down Puddin potentially, maybe even Jane. Definitely something that they can work around with. And we addressed also one other thing. Viego's crit scaling got buffed, so the crit items like Kraken Slayer would have been something that he could go for. But in competitive, kind of just still the Divine Thunder Edge instead of Fook1, just because it's that much more safe. The damage output, of course, not as good, but it's just such a safe pick to take.
Wow. Okay, bumper card did go Nugu. That is Yashino popping the ultimate, throwing it at Fook1, who pressed the ultimate, gets stunned by Jan. Like, Nugu had no counterplay there. Play safe, am I right? Like, what are you supposed to do when there's a wraparound by Yashino that
don't walk out of place
you from out of nowhere? Yeah, nothing to accomplish. Because that's a first tower here for Jane out of the mid lane there. They're putting a lot more for Team Flash into this mid laner who's doing quite a bit of good work. Again, Jane feeling themselves quite a bit better than they had previously. Like I said, like what? Didn't even know he was there.
You can't even be mad at him, right? I mean, and also Jane, you addressed it right now. I mean, performing much better in the first game. I mean, the RA to Silas I didn't really like much. I mean, it was blind picked, of course, so Silas was the counter pick option, but he didn't really win lane. He played the lane very aggressively, got killed off for first, but as the game happened around. And this time on the Syndra, we criticized the pick a little bit as it had no early game agency, but he played a stable early game. Talia also not really that strong in that phase of the game anyway, and just now he's wrapping in the rewards just now. I mean, the TP for the first kill, the shutdown of the slows was very huge for him just now, and also another good play for him, and he's definitely someone you can rely on in these late game situations for now. And also now with the mid lane tier 1 being done, a lot of map control for Team Flash, and they need this one, especially for this next Drake. They can't really afford to give up Drake after Drake. They did this in the first game, and it ultimately cost them the game. And if they just get a single Drake, just 5 more minutes really just of time to really buy, they will be very good for this game.
Zodiac almost gets assassinated, but fortunately he's going to be able to sneak out 15 seconds before the dragon ends up coming up. It might be a little bit late for Zodiac to be able to re-enter this fight. 1,500 gold lead, but a couple of ultimates burn right there. Specifically, Jane's ultimate might not be back on cooldown for this dragon fight as it comes to. Look at that damage, those slows. Gets wrecked as Puddin's going to be able to run forward. Sunmer's standing close enough to slows to actually have some kind of difficulty. Featherpull is going to set up for a couple of different plays. Ornn ultimate's also going to set up for something as Tamrio wanted a little bit of a wraparound. Zodiac shorts the ultimate as well. Going to just push off a couple of members. Zodiac or Tamrio now back into the back line. He's going to find something with the Cyclone. Jane wants some additional smoke, but there's no support here for Tamrio as he's going to go down to the E coming out from Jane. This Syndra did so much in this one fight. Literally drove out Tamrio, got the kill, drove out Tamrio, drove out Zodiac, did a bunch of damage. Just like literally every member that took damage was just Jane. It was a Jane diff. Super hard in that fight. And now with no smite, like Dragon feels like it's an inevitability for Flash here unless a big fight comes out from Box Esports. But I don't think they fancy themselves a big coin flip here. So, just walk back to lane, collect your gold. Rift Herald is on the board. It looks like Slows actually walked directly at that, so they're going to be able to pick that up and get some of the gold back, at least a bit of something. Big stack top wave could actually be a really, really good thing to drop this into. They're paying quite a bit of attention, although Yashino could be a bit of trouble here for Slows and for Zodiac, as there's no smite available anywhere nearby.
Yeah, it will be the consolation prize, surely, for the side of Box Esports to at least get this Rift Herald or Yoshino.
Okay.
That's insecure. Either way, just a consolation prize, but it's very fine for side of the Flash. I mean, to go for this one. He's still in.
What are we doing?
Jane diff.
I don't.
You said a Jane diff. I mean,
hard Jane diff.
I want to see replay of this fight, but either way, I didn't really like them actually going for this fight as they were dealing the damage before. And anyway, if Slows getting poked out, then they could just immediately went for the Drake. But they wanted to kill off this Wukong first to have the smite security out of the way. And I rarely see a Syndra running into a Wukong and the Wukong just running away scared, but Tommy who did that absolutely rightfully so, as Jane was so scary in that fight. As you see, I think it's not the replay of the mid lane fight, but what we see earlier where Tommy died the second time, it's just Fuk1 empowered by the Lulu, just doing the Moon King things and just absolutely destroying anybody who doesn't really one-shot him, just hard winning the DPS check. Enchanted by his support, and that's how Tommy died the second time there. And Flash just now, in these last few sequences, absolutely dominating the map, right? I mean, it's just the second Herald being dropped for many kills, getting one Drake, your first Drake overall in the game. You are outscaling already, and now all of a sudden they're almost 4,000 gold up.
And their investment into Jane is paying off massively. Again, I've talked about this as Jane has been a bit of a wishy-washy type player, where sometimes you have games like game number 1, where like the RE wasn't spectacular. You found a couple of charms, found a couple of plays that were okay, but you never really stood out. You never really did all that much, and a couple of times you're kind of out of position for the rest of your team. Then you have games like this, where like Jane is literally 1v5ing fights, dropping hundreds of damage on members that should honestly should not be dropped as low as they can on a single ability. Slows comes to mind, and thinking about just how quickly that Slows was removed from a handful of fights just off the back of Syndra being way too strong inside of things. This big ultimate comes through. Sunmer is going to pop the ultimate in the Ornn direction. That's big. Yeah, Wukong finds something, but again, Fuk1, my apologies, Tomrio just gets blown up by Jane's damage. At this point in the game, I don't know that anybody actually has the health to live Jane other than Sunmer. Like, Sunmer probably tanky enough to resist the Jane damage to some extent. You're not going to get one tap, but like anybody else is just getting devastated by a combo from the Syndra. And because of that, like, what are you supposed to do? Like how are you supposed to handle this game if you're Box Esports? You're getting outranged by Jane here by a significant margin. The rest of the team slowly catching up in gold. You're never winning a team fight. You're never winning an objective unless you kill off this Syndra, which has proved to be a very difficult thing to do.
Just worth it. Nah, either way, jokes aside, find a flank on Zodiac maybe. Just flash Grand Entrance the Syndra to some extent. I mean, her flash is also down. That's just maybe your best option to just instantly kill Jane, and then maybe you can win the fight against Pullin and Fuk1. But I think you can't. I mean, you have to blow a lot of resources onto the Syndra in the first place, and then there's still like a lot of DPS coming through. The Enchanted hyper carry, the Enchanted melee carry in the Viego. Also, Yoshino is one of Aegis Quaggas, definitely a damage threat in his own rights, and you said it, but Summer is the only one not getting probably one combat by Jane, but also he is not really happy just easily face tanking his abilities either, right? It's the double penetration under his Jane. He definitely ignores a lot of those resistances from the Jug Show or from the Ornament Jug Show, which is the unspoken parasite, of course, as we all know, as we are moving around this Baron area right now. Baron spawned for a minute right now, and Team Flash with this competition might just go for an early Baron, right? They have a lot of Baron damage, like everybody deals decent amount of damage, and Yoshino can still easily tank it.
Okay. Rift Herald, I was about to say, Zodiac's got it and has to pop it somewhere. It looks like they're going to be able to deny its charge because the wave is just now coming in for the squad. So yeah, Team Flash, they're not even going to let a Rift Herald charge against the mid tower. It's just not going to happen. Instead, with Dragon on the way, like you said, Baron buff has to be something that you can threaten potentially. You have to think about threatening a lot of things on this map. Because again, Jade is just so loaded that there's nobody that can really make the resistances come through. Do you notice Ornn items are about to start coming in for Sunmer, which means that slowly some of the gold's going to get chipped away at just from the pure flat stats on those items kind of coming through. But we're still a ways away from feeling like that's going to make you any more comfortable than you are right now, especially again, because that doesn't do anything to help you survive most of the time. Instead, it's just going to help you do a little bit more damage, have some more base stats. But again, I don't think Jane cares about what your stats look like except your health bar going to 0. It's like me playing Pokemon. I don't care about any other status effects. The health bar is 0, I win. So it's not better.
Yeah. Jane is hardcore nuzlocking this game. He's also deathless, right? I mean, because if you would have one death, I mean, you would just need to box the side of Syndra. Actually, there's probably a good pun with box and playing against box esports right there. Speaking about these Pokemon references. Either way, you just the ornaments, right? It just kind of softens the blow a little bit, right? 4,000 gold is the difference. You kind of make up one out of those 4,000 with the Jug Show upgrade. Either way, that's not enough, right? It's just softening the blow a little bit. You make it a 3k gold difference, and you should be like 3k gold ahead or more right now, as you are getting outscaled and outranged by Jane specifically, as he can just easily manage his team fights. And just now it's Fuk1 just soloing the second chem take Drake, while the other team of Box Esports can just watch. I mean, not even watch because they don't really have any vision. They just go for the Baron as a desperation attempt, but it's probably enough time for Flash to rejoin for this one, as Fuk1 is already on it.
Yeah.
He actually stopped the Drake. He actually stopped the Drake. I respect that.
Stop the Drake. That's interesting. Okay, has to get over here just as fast as possible. Now Fuk1 is going to be in place for this. Blast Cone's over. That's empowered Blast Cone. Now Tommy has to find a way to get back into the pit because the Baron is being sat at. In fact, actually, Team Flash feels comfortable. They say, okay, we pushed you off. That's all that we need. I was willing to say, hey, leave him there. Like, you take a chance. I didn't think they'd have the damage. I was wrong. Fuk1 absolutely made the right call to come over here at the last possible second to make sure that there was nothing there. And honestly, solid play from Box because it did remove them from the defense of the Dragon, at least for a hot minute. It means that they do have a bit of time for set.
Oh, Yoshino?
Double flash now underneath the mid tower. Should be Jane being able to go down. Nice Zonias to avoid all that damage, because that could have been lethal for onto Nugu if that stun ends up hitting. Now with the Dragon going down on the, Dragon Days going down, Box Esports cannot threaten for the Baron. They clear out
try though, and
it's not gonna matter. Yeah, they're just gonna walk out.
No,
now.
They won't try. Either way, I think that's just in general macro improvement from the VCS coming out, right? The bottom tier team seeing Fuk1's probably on the Drake, we just at least start the Baron to threaten it, and then just forcing Fuk1 to pull away, and Fuk1 actually doing so. Definitely both teams kind of being on their right page, considering the macro gameplay. I think the correct call initially would have been maybe for Flash to just put Pullin to the Drake to solo it, and just have the West being there in the standoff, because even without Pullin, with Jane, with Fuk1, Yoshino, and so you're still strong enough to at least hold the line and stop them from taking Baron, especially with Fuk1 being there for potential smite steal. Either way, they just now rectified it. Getting Fuk1 to pull away from the Drake, stopping the Baron attempt, not just starting off the Baron yourself when it's on 3k, because it would just be a flip against a team that could potentially steal it away. Also, just showing some resilience on the side of Flash. I mean, a greedy team would have just taken the Baron themselves and potentially lost it there, so kudos to them. And now, it's just, at the end of the day, some time wasted by the side of Box Esports. They lose the Drake anyway, and Flash happily is keeping to scale. Also nice play mechanically from Yoshino, go for the flash body slam. Nugu correctfully reacting with his own flash, and later on against Jane's combo to use the stopwatch. I really like to see it. Both Mako and Maiko is getting better within this region.
Yeah. Okay, I was waiting here for a second just because it looked like Baron buff was still maybe on the board. Box Esports feels like they need to do something drastic. And a Baron buff would help them quite a bit because they'd be able to crack some structures, get some gold back, and really do make a difference inside of this game. As right now, again, Jane has been a hero here for Flash. After last game, the performance from Nogo was just so good that it was tough to see whether or not Jane was going to be able to compete in the series in general. But here, very clearly showing us that they know what they're doing. And with another needlessly large as well, I have to anticipate that it's going to be a Rabbit on the third item. And on third item, that means that Syndra is going to... There's nobody that lives the Syndra damage at that point. Like, if you get hit by a Syndra ability, you're just dead or you're out of the fight. Like, there's absolutely no coming back from that one.
I want to see Jane one combo the on. If that can be might be possible.
I think it could be possible as well. When you have like 800 farm and everything else coming through, ultimate from Nogo was utilized. Although the ultimate from Fook 1 was actually used really effectively to deny this too. Nugu survived a little bit longer than I thought he would, but again, every single possible tool denied here from the side of Team Flash, as Yashino denied the ultimate and the shove was canceled out by Fook 1, as that means that Nugu is now going to be out. They're looking for something. Puddin is going to get jumped on, and that is Tomrio dead. There's nothing else to be said. And even worse, the crash down allows for the auto attacks to bring down another member as Tomrio is going to go. And that's Team Flash getting Baron. That's probably just Team Flash getting the game right here.
Yeah, that's Baron into the game probably, and the mistake from Box Esports was the following. They had Nugu in the sideline split from the rest of the team, and they also fought with Jane being like within the 1000 range vicinity, so Jane could press the delete button onto anyone on the side of Box Esports, and that's just something that couldn't happen. Kneel before Jane is what I would say in this situation, as they are grabbing the Baron on the side of Team Flash right now. Jane not looking to die anytime soon with this game, and Puddin and Jane together just can easily steamroll those fights. I mean, Wukong looking surprisingly tanky for like a carry champion, but not tanky enough against all the damage coming out, as here we see the mid skirmish again was happening off screen. Puddin kind of getting hard against them, but Zeri with the Sheepo, with the Lulu being around, can just easily at least survive the initial burst and then just keep rolling on her own damage, and Slows can just watch as his team crumbles before him.
The fact that they found a jump on it like that and still got nothing. Okay, there's a bit of jump. Jane is... I was gonna say being threatened, but honestly, I don't think there was any threat there. So, like, I think Jane just walked away more than anything else. And during the course of that fight, the fact that like Tomrio and Zodiac got full combos off onto Puddin, and Puddin was not even a half health because of the shield bow. Like I said, this one just feels chalked. I feel like you don't have the damage to actually make this game happen here if you're the side of Box Esports, because I'm not seeing it. Again, they were very slow at the beginning of the game, and again, giving up that much pressure to the Syndra when the Syndra has as much agency as she does in a game like this with the range advantage, with all the damage, it's so hard for Box Esports to now make any sort of response whatsoever. Like, nobody can really kill Jane. Nobody can even step up to Jane to contest. Like, I'm not sure what their intention is. So walking in, considering game number 3, do you think it's mid pressure that just kind of gives us everything? Is it just whichever mid laner is doing well? I know it's a bit of an over distillation of everything that's happened, but it seems like these two have been quite important over the course of the series.
Seems to be a bit of a simplification, of course, but either way, I think it is important, of course, that Jane is on a pick that really has impacted any stage of a game, and the Arby just kind of didn't have that. Also, Yoshino and the Gragas, I like it much more in general. I mean, in the draft, I hated it because Jane was such a good Gragas, but if he can play Syndra to this level, like, why not give him Syndra again? Or for the side of Box Esports, ban away the Syndra or prepare a counter for it, because the Talia just isn't it. The Talia kind of just... Considering her power budget, right? I mean, she's also like a scaling mage that kind of has a weak early game, but some of her power budget is within being global, and being global isn't good when you are losing side lanes anyway, which Box Esports should expect to do. Like, you don't reinvent your own playstyle or identity within a single series, so the Talia for Nugu kind of just isn't it, as you won't have Sunma beating Yoshino anytime soon.
No, I agree with you wholly. Not to mention, both games, it feels like mid lane has gotten a counter pick when it was unnecessary to give that away, which is something to consider. That, like, again, Nugu showed the Talia long before the Cinder came out, and last game, the day before, already got picked before the Silas ended up coming out. And because of that, it led to both mid laners kind of getting better lanes, which helps set up. It helps you get priority, helps you kind of punish. Again, if you have a winning mid lane, you end up skirmishing a bunch alongside your jungler. It means that, like, top and bot aren't going to be as kind of flexed upon. And if you don't have that mid jungle kind of combination, the way that this game specifically has gone for Nogo and Tomrio, you can see what the results are. Like the results are quite terrible. As slowly, it's not even like them fighting that's leading to this. There are all 5 members for Box Esports up. Slows on the other side of the map just pushing because Slows is just trying to get any amount of gold back to be able to do something here. But there's just so many minions in this base right now. There's Zodiac finding engaged, but no damage actually comes down to follow it up. Slow's only just now backing as well.
I think the play from Slows is kind of fine because he's getting objective bounties, and I think it's not even a finishing push either way from Team Flash. I think they would get those 2 inhibitors either way, or just even bait themselves into a fight, because, I mean, we have Slows on our side. We would just maybe try to at least have our last stand right there. What Slows is doing, I think it's actually the best out of a bad situation, so to say. And he's getting at least some more gold for himself, some additional experience, so he can at least hit potentially level 16 this game, and maybe even 3 or 4 items despite being behind. So this, however, was something that looks kind of stupid, but is the correct call in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Slow's trying to get something bad. It's trying to generate some counterplay of some kind. I know it basically does nothing at this point in the game, but a tower is a tower. A little bit of gold for Slows, a little bit of gold. You never know when you're gonna hit a feather storm and pull 10 feathers through Jane and end up getting 1,000 gold shut down out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden the game gets swapped on its head because then you have Warren items, you have shutdowns on multiple members that go over. If you could deny that X-Dragon, Box Esports, they're not dead in the water right now. Again, it's just something drastic has to change in the landscape of this game for them to have any sort of chance. And obviously, the Zaya attempting to make some kind of change to ensure that that's going to happen here, but it's still very hard pressed to occur. As we have 2.5 minutes, but the Baron buff is also 1.5 minutes away. A little bit of lax downtime here for Team Flash and Box Esports, as we shouldn't expect them to just flip the game outside of a big kind of objective timer here, Quincy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was Fukwon maybe just going to Zodiac right there, but because with the limited vision, he wasn't sure if he can really go for this play. As here, we see a cast from Yoshino. And actually trap Fukwon here. But they can't commit it to him, he's too tanky.
Yeah, I mean... After Nogo, of course, misses the seismic shove, I get the reference, which is a really good one, because they definitely did not... They could have done much more. Fukwon did have ult and flash, though, so not under any real threat to worry about. As top tower under siege, teleported in from Jack Show. Now Zodiac actually gets denied on the front line as well. That's going to be the ultimate pop from the Ornn to try to find some amount of damage. Feathers already got pulled once here by the side of Slows. As nobody... look at this, no one's even under half health. Fukwon, the only one even close, as that top tower... Just so much damage that came down onto it. Not quite able to break it, but again, they're not that pressed about it. They had a minute and a half till Dragon, 30 seconds until Baron. They're okay taking their resets, spending their gold, and getting back out on the map.
Yeah, I mean, just now getting the standing gold means that they definitely have something to shop for, as we see Jay now very close to getting 4 full items. I mean, also just now some percentage magic penetration, which seems very good, especially against Wukong and Ornn here. I mean, the Ornn is very, very tanky in that regard, at least. I mean, I said I wanted to see like the one combo to Ornn and actually killing him. This probably won't happen this game, but at least he has enough damage to really threaten the front line even, and the backline much more so. As TP already forced out against Nogu, it will be a Baron setup instead of Flash, and they can just play the slow game, but it's double inhibitors being down on side, and also the inhibitor further away from the Baron itself, so very easy setup for them. And even if they don't really succeed in that, as long as they don't lose a fight or anything, they can just play for the solo in a minute later.
Sure can. Bottom lane is getting stacked up against, so you do have to worry about that. That's why you saw a no-go on the bottom side of the map, trying to make sure that that happens. And with all the Ornn items through, I mean, in fairness, it's only about a 2,000 tangible gold lead coming out here from the side in terms of item stats. Now, that's not to say that there aren't other things. For example, Syndra being stacked on Splinters means that the Rabadons gets a ton of extra because you just get a bunch of flat percentage AP. Baron's going to go down. Nothing else to be said about that one. If I were Box Esports, I would take the mid tower, I would take the Dragon, and I would walk away. Like, there's not much else to be done here. 20 seconds. Maybe run it both. Like, I don't even know. Like, you're not going to be able to do much else here in this situation. The back's not going to do much for you unless you're trying to stop this push coming in from the side of Team Flash.
They have to,
which
though.
They are. Yeah, they have to.
They just get finished if they just don't back here, so they can't even go for the Constellation Prize Drake here to just stop the soul, so it will just be inhibitor turret, maybe even the inhibitor, and they need to have the last set right here, because the last inhibitor is 4 times more available than the other ones, so they have to go for the fortunate play here.
Here we go. All right, big ultimate coming through, trying to find something. Fukwon dropped, but Jane eviscerates one member of the team. Now, Puddin's time to shine. He flashes in, gonna use the crash down, all the damage. Yeah, this team's just too loaded. Like, there's not much else to do. I was saying, like, okay, itemization-wise, maybe they're evened up, but it just doesn't matter because there's too many things that are going the way of Team Flash, as they're gonna be able to walk out of this one, take us to a game number 3.
Ja, Team Flash absolut die Beating damit für